Welcome to the S10e versus the S10 versus the S10 Plus. Now, I've had all these phones for a month and I'm finally ready to share with you kind of like everything I've experienced between all three. So if you can't decide between all three, you can kind of get some information here on all of them in just one packaged video right here. Now, I want to begin by talking about the body and the design of all of them. First of all, they all have pretty gorgeous design and they're all going to be pretty similar in terms of the build materials on all of them. However, the S10 and S10 Plus with the triple cameras, curved displays are a lot closer than the S10e, which has felt kind of like on its own little, planet over there with its flat screen display, its dual camera. So out of all of these, the S10e actually feels the newest out of all of them because it's just different. Like these two right here feel very similar to last year's S9 and S9 Plus with some updates to the display, but overall that curved feel, glass on the front and the rear, they're a lot more similar, whereas the S10e goes back to the S7 days with the flat screen and has a dual camera on the back instead of a triple camera. So I think out of all of these, the S10e has actually felt like the most new out of all these three. Now, when it comes to its overall build though, and in the quality, Samsung has knocked it out of the park on all of these. But I gotta say, in terms of price and, just to the build, I think the Galaxy S10 offers the best value here of all three. It has that fancy curved display. It has a triple camera. The weight is almost as light as the S10e, but gives you most of the attributes of the S10 Plus without the dual, cut out up at the front, just a small little circle over there. So basically to me, the S10 has offered the best combination of, build quality, price, and just feeling modern here of all three. But the S10e has been the best at feeling like the cheapest, most value you can get from Samsung this year, with the S10 Plus feeling like, of course, their top dog premium phone, with the S10 5G coming that will overtake that crown once again. But for now, until May 16th when it launches on Verizon, the S10 Plus still the most premium of the three if you want to pay $1,000. But I like the combination that the S10 gives you. So one thing you're going to like about all of these, no matter which one you go with, is that they're all going to offer up a very light experience. They all weigh less than maybe their direct competitors. So the Galaxy S10 Plus, for example, is significantly lighter than the XS Max. So even though it's a big phone and the heaviest here, it's not the lightest if you're going to pick the lightest here, but compared to its competitor, it is much lighter. It's even lighter than like the OnePlus 6T, for example. It's also, it's just really a very light phone to use day to day for its size. But if you come down to the S10 or the S10e, now you're talking featherweight style phones. I mean, for this kind of size of a screen, this phone only weighs 157 grams. Now the XR is a similar size screen, but significantly heavier at over 190 grams. Now you might say, come on, these are just grams you're talking, but in the real world, you actually feel that day to day and it's extremely nice. So I think, again, the S10 is one of those phones of these three that offers a good combination, but at 150 grams, the S10e, if you're looking for the compact of the three, this one right here is just super compact, super light. It's close to that pixel level light here on this device. So if you want the lightest device, the S10e has really been very comfortable to use. Now, talking about the displays on all three devices, I've actually liked how large the S10 Plus display is. However, the pill cutout is a lot bigger than the S10. It does give you more room to multitask and things like that. So I've actually liked the super big screen on the Galaxy S10 Plus, and I would probably like the S10 5G as well as the Note 10 that's coming with probably slightly larger screens than that. Now, the S10 though has offered a relatively large screen for its size and weight, so you're gonna feel like you don't really miss out on much by going with the S10. So if you get this, you won't even really notice that you have a much smaller screen than, say, the S10 Plus unless you compared it side by side. It kind of feels almost similar when using it, but just offers you up a lighter, more compact feel, and it's cheaper with a single cutout up at the top. Now, the S10e is for the person who wants the more compact screen. Now, this is more like an iPhone XS size right here, so Definitely enough space for most people, but this is more the phone you just use, you put it down. You're not going to be consuming media all day on it. This type of phone right here, this is more of, you know, the compact travel phone, the one you take with you when you're out all the time doing stuff and you just don't want a heavy phone in your pocket. I feel like that's where the S10e really shines. But if you want a combo of these two, get the S10. If you want the biggest screen right now, get the S10 Plus or wait for the S10 5G with a 6.7 inch. In terms of their quality itself, these two have higher resolution. The sharper feel on the S10 gives it a little bit of an edge in PPI over the S10 Plus, but it's barely noticeable. The 1080p over here for the S10e, because it's on a smaller screen, you really don't notice that you don't have that extra resolution for the S10e in actual usage. And in terms of their vivid feel, they're all about the same. So in terms of the actual quality, they all felt almost identical, if not identical, with just maybe a slight edge to sharpness on these two, but I mean very, very slight. Now, if you're picking one of these up in terms of the operating system, they all give you the One UI on board here. Now, it makes it a lot easier to use things one hand, and I do like the new gestures that are here. I didn't even have them turned on for the Galaxy S10, but it brings the screen down further. They all give you the night mode. They all give you wireless power share, and they all give you good multitasking ability. Now, the only thing I noticed that is if you get the S10 Plus, you have more space to do multitasking on here. Other than that, the software experience identical across the board. They got some nice calculators with histories in them. I do appreciate that when I'm using Samsung phones, because the iPhone doesn't give me a history in calculator. But overall, I mean, it doesn't matter which one you're using here. It's just a size thing. They all have the same exact software. And in terms of how it's performed, Samsung's been pushing out a few updates to these phones already, and it's performed pretty great. I would like to see a 120 hertz display going forward, as it would make the Samsung phone just a lot smoother looking. But overall, I mean, really, performance has been great with the 7nm chips across the board. So the S10e came stock with 6 GB of RAM, and the Galaxy S10, 8 GB of RAM, S10 Plus, 8 GB of RAM. And I gotta tell you, I don't even know which one has the most RAM when I'm using them. They all performed about the same, actually. So what that means is that when you're playing games, when you're downloading applications from the Play Store, you're not going to be able to tell. And I think what's impressive is that the S10e is so small, and it kind of does all this in this compact package. So I kind of like the S10e when it comes to performance to size. It was just fun to use a small phone and know it's just a beast in the pocket. Now they kind of already look like beasts. I mean, they're big and stuff like that, so I would expect that from these two. But the S10e it's under the radar. It's small, light, and boom, it's just really fast. So that was impressive, even for 6 GB of RAM. I don't care what you're going through, what you're multitasking in, they've all done great. I've had no restarts, not one, on any of these phones, and I actually haven't had any lag on any of these phones in my whole month using them. That's pretty impressive. So let's cover biometrics really quickly, because the S10e is going to give you that fingerprint sensor on the side, kind of like that new Tab S5e that we reviewed a couple days ago. And I gotta say, I really like where it's placed on the S10e. You get used to this really easily. However, it doesn't feel quite as futuristic as the in-display fingerprint sensors you'll find on the S10 Plus, for example, and the S10. So right here, you just go right into the device with just a tap. Same goes for the Galaxy S10, and that gives it more of a modern feel than the S10e. So for me, I actually like the convenience factor of where the S10 and S10 Plus were placed with the fingerprint sensor. You have to make cuts somewhere, and the S10e doesn't make a big sacrifice by going with the fingerprint sensor on the side. I don't think it was a big deal. Now, Face Unlock was equally fast on all of these devices, and I gotta say the S10e's fingerprint sensor, while it doesn't feel as modern, it was a little more accurate because it's a physical sensor. They all have unsecure Face Unlock, which kind of made me want to use the fingerprint sensors every time. So definitely, if you want to have some fun, use the Face Unlock, but if you want security, you got to use the fingerprint sensors on these three. So let's talk about the camera experiences. You know the drill. We have triple cameras for the Galaxy S10 Plus, S10 dual for the S10e, but the S10e gives you the one that I think matters more, and that is the wide angle. So I didn't really miss using the S10 or S10 Plus, because the one I cared about the most was that wide angle, and it was on board here for the Galaxy S10e, which gives you a really fun factor camera here. Now, these are all impressive. They all have super stunning results no matter which one you are using, and those front-facing cameras video with the 4K is just incredible. So definitely, no matter which one you go with here, the camera experience is very similar and very enjoyable. Sharp photos across the board, sharp video 4K 60, and super steady modes on all of them give you an incredible camera experience. So it does not matter which one you go with. I would just go with the S10 and S10 Plus if you want telephoto. If you really care about zooming, then you got to pick one of these two. If you don't, then the S10e could definitely be high on your list of phones you might choose of these three. And when it comes to the audio, they all have Dolby Atmos on board. So they all were very nice and loud. They all had dual speakers, but I found that the S10 Plus was the loudest of these three, just slightly. But overall, they all sounded pretty great across that. Now, they do have all headphone jacks at the bottom right there for the S10e, and then if we go here on the S10, you'll see it right there. And I always like when the headphone jack is placed at the bottom because it's a little bit awkward sometimes when it's at the top. It also gets in the way if you're trying to plug in a microphone for doing some video. You can see right there a headphone jack. So overall, I think if you want the loudest audio experience, the S10 Plus was the one I experienced being the loudest. The S10 kind of in the middle and the S10e at the bottom, but all of them were nowhere near quiet. They all were very loud devices. So you're not going to be disappointed with audio on any of them. They have both things you want, external speakers that are good as well as headphone jacks on all of them. So when it comes to the battery life, there's a clear winner here. We know the more you go up in the size of the battery, it's just going to be better. And the S10 Plus far exceeds these two in battery life. So if you want the king of battery here, just consider the S10 Plus. But when it comes to these two, the S10 is actually pretty much way better than the S10e as well. The S10e is the only one I wasn't able to get through a heavy use day with. This one I was hitting the charger a couple times a day just to make sure, and I'm not sure it would die all the way, but just to make sure that it stayed up and running. Now the S10 would get me a little nervous by nighttime. I was running pretty low on the S10, but definitely not scared that I'm going to run out of battery. That's how I can sum up the S10. But the S10 Plus, there's no way I was even close to running out of juice. I was finishing in the 60s almost every day versus this one in the 20s.